Kumlena Blat Gemara. Today's daf is Daf Kuf Samar Gimel. Basically, we are learning the laws of how a star should be structured. And the last thing we learned was that if there's a gap of one line between the signature of the Eidim and the star, it's a perfectly valid star. But if there's a gap of two lines between the Eidim signatures and the star, it's not a valid star. And that is because we are scared that the person will fill in two more lines to the star that wasn't there originally. But one line, why aren't we worried? Because he made a rule that the last line of the star is not counted. We disregard it. So if there's only one line, who cares what he writes? It makes no difference. If he does cheat and put something there, we ignore it. But if there were two lines there, he can always add two lines, and the last line we'll ignore. But not all Eidim leave a gap. Some Eidim sign next to it, contiguous to it, some a bit further. So if he fills in two lines, then it's a problem because the penultimate line we are going to regard, we're going to follow, and the last line we won't. So he'll cheat. He'll put something in the next to the last line. So therefore, if there's a gap of two lines, we don't allow it. One line, we say the star is no problem because who cares? Manushach. Then we decided what's the definition of two lines that disqualifies the stars. So far we learned yesterday two opinions. We started on a third one. One opinion is two lines plus four margins, because in case you have a long chaf and a long lamed on top of each other, so you need a margin above to cover the lamed, a margin below to cover the chaf, and then the line beneath, a margin above to the lamed. So if you have such a big gap, then we are worried that maybe he'll fill it in. But if anything less than that, it's still a good start. That's opinion number one. Opinion number two is no. We're not really. That's too lenient. We're not really saying how probable is it that you're going to have the word lech lecha and a lamed, and the chaf right above the lamed below. What are the chances of that happening? So they say no. Just you could have a long chaf and a long lamed. So therefore, but not on top of each other. So you need a line, a margin above, in case there's a lamed. You need a margin all the way in the bottom, in case there's a chaf, and then a margin in between, or a lamed or a chaf. That pokes out. Now, the third opinion is this one over here. Rabbi Yitzchak, we're up to the Kuf Samar Gimel Amar Aleph, which is Rabbavu Amar. Rabbavu says, even one line and two margins is already a problem. You can fill it in. For example, because one line and two margins, if you have a long chaf and a lamed on the same line, so the lamed needs a little bit of space above, the chaf needs above. So if you have one line and two margins, you can already fill in things. You can squeeze two lines in there. Make sure you don't have a lamed and a chaf in there. Then you'll have two lines. You can fill two lines into that gap. We got a problem. The last line we're going to ignore, but the line before that we're going to consider. And therefore, if you have enough space that you can make two lines, how? What's that amount? And he's much more machmir. He says if you have one line and two margins, that's enough. If you don't have the chafs and lameds in there, you can write two lines in, even a little bit of a margin between. So Rabbi Vuam going Baruch ben Levi. Rishita Achas. Baruch ben Levi has a long chaf and a long lamed. So you need a line and two margins for the lamed above, the chaf below. If you have that kind of a gap, that's a problem already. Because if you don't have a chaf and lamed, you can actually fill two lines in there. And the last line will ignore, but the line before that, you cheated. Because somebody holds, Shita Achas, one line, Vishnei Avidin, and two margins is good. Omar Rav, says Rav, Loi, so now Rav continues, he says, Loi Shon, when do we say two-line margin in a star, in a document, is a problem because we're scared that maybe parts of it are fraudulent, Ela Bain Eidim L'Ksav. If there's a gap between the signature of the witnesses and the contents of the star of two lines, we are very worried. Why are we worried? Because we made a rule that these kind of stars are no good, because if we ever allow Eidim to leave such a big gap, a cheater is going to come in and fill in both lines. So therefore, we disqualify that. But bein edim la sharta, because a lot of times a star, after they wrote their star, they would go to a bezin, they would get a hempik. A sharta is when the bezin certifies it. Ashur, it's good. Yeah. So therefore, when bezin, so you have the star, you have the witness signing, and then at the bottom you have a bezin giving their stamp and the bezin signing. So if you have a gap between the bezdin and the signature of witnesses, that's all right. I don't care how big the line is, it's all kosher. Yeah. I don't understand why. Why aren't we worried that he's going to add a few more lines, cheat a little bit between the signature of the Adim and the Bezin stamp? And if we see a stamp of a Bezin, we assume the stamp of the Bezin covers the entire contents of the shtar, including the postscript. So how come we're not worried? Maybe he'll forge because he'll write whatever his heart's desire, the Chasimi Sadi, and you have witnesses signed right underneath, and that's a problem. So why don't we have the same problem between the Adim and the Bezin stamp? Messiah, he will forge because of my boy. He'll write what he wants. The Chasimi Sadi, and you have the Bezin right there who certified. They're the witnesses. In fact, that they're much more respectable than just stam witnesses, causing real problems here. Says the Gemara, you're right. Rav's din is limited. When does Rav say that you're permitted to have a gap between the signatures of the Adim and the Bezin certification? Is the metayetle. You fill it up with black ink. Because you fill it with black ink, that way you can't write anything on it. And because you can't write anything on it, it doesn't matter. There's a big gap there. What can you put in there? You can't put anything in there. But if, let's say, Taka, if you had a shtar and there was a gap of 2 lines between the signature of the witnesses and the Bezin certification, but there was no black ink there, would that get us also disqualified? Because we're scared that sometimes people will write things in there, and who knows what will happen. And the Rashbam says it's actually a puzzle. Some say it means we will not read what it says between the signature of the witnesses and the certification of Bezin because we don't know what was written. The Rashbam and some other Shem hold, and Shlomo brings down as one opinion, but Shlomo doesn't like it, is that the whole star is possible because Chacham said, don't leave a blank, and you did, so we disqualify the star. Bezin has that power. Says the Gemara, if you tell me now there's a solution, if you have a gap, it's all right, as long as it covers black ink. So why can't you do the same thing by Adim? If Adim, let's say by mistake, signed, and left a gap of 2 lines, don't say the star is possible. Tell them to fill with black ink. And therefore everything's good. Everything's good. Says the Gemara, Amri, people will think that Saadi Atiyuta Hu de Chasimi. People will think that the witnesses who are signing are not signing and telling us that the contents of the shtar are kosher. All the signing is telling us is that this black ink didn't cover any words. Don't think that something was erased away or blocked something out. We testify that we saw him put black ink on a blank with 2 lines blank, and we saw him putting the black. That's what people think. That's what the Edom are doing. They're not signing that Reuben borrowed from Shimon $100. They're not signing that at all, and therefore we can't allow this thing of black ink. Says the Gemara, and is ben Adim Lashartanami. So if that's the cheshbon that people will think that the signature of the Adim is only certifying that the black ink is not covering words. So why do you tell me there's a solution by a bezin that you have black ink? But people will say, that the bezin is only certifying that this section here was blank. And the black ink is not covering anything. Same thing. We'll say the same thing. Says the Gemara, people will say, sorry, the Gemara asked, people will say that Bezin is just signing that the black ink didn't cover any words. Says the Gemara, because Beidina Atiyuma, what do you call it? Beidina Atiyuma loy chasimi. Bezin will not sign, Bezin does not come in and sign that there's nothing here. Bezin either signs the whole star is kosher or not. When it comes to Edim, many Edim are just simple people, Amaratzim, they have no idea what they're signing. So it could be they think that what they're signing, these Edim, think that they're signing only that we saw was a blank. It was a blank. Exactly. Nothing was erased over here, but they have no idea about the content of the star. Yeah. Duty is covering it black ink. Yeah. Maybe it comes from the word yoy. That's tutor. So the Rambam says it means filling it with black ink and covering the whole thing. Says the Gemara, let me ask you a question. So what do you have? Yeah, there's no room for initials. You're assuming there's margins on the side. Yeah, and the contract every page you got to sign at the bottom. So the Gemara says, and before we already said that if you change anything, if you, let's say, you hang letters, you have to write, you make a summary in the bottom, everything you did. So the Gemara has a question. We're talking about cheaters now. So if you have the shad to the Beit Din, right, the certification of Bezin, You have the blanking above that. So no, the leichus, why aren't we worried like this? There's a star, right? There's a star, Adim, black ink, and a shot to the beginning. Rav says all kosher. Why aren't you worried he will cut off the top part of the star, erase the black ink, and you have a certification of Bezin, and he can now fill it with whatever he wants, even worse. Yeah, this is better than it's a bank check. You have the Bezin certification. Remember, he will cut off the top part, the entire star, whatever it says over there, and will change it. Instead of Reuben borrowing $100 from Shimon, Reuben borrowed $1,000 from Shimon, whatever he wants. He will erase this whole black ink business, and then, but he needs witnesses. He will forge Adam's signature, and nobody's going to bother checking because you have a Bezin stamp on the bottom. It says all kosher v'yosher.
If it's erasable, why wouldn't they just erase it before? Why would they sign under it to say that there's nothing written underneath?
What do you mean?
Erase it.
Erase what?
The black ink.
No, we then it's possible star. We're not allowed to have two blank lines. So we said a solution to make sure it's not blank. Why? We don't want blank lines because then people can fill it in.
You're filling it in with something that's erasable. Of course.
1 second. Because of my debay, umechtem sadi, and you will get witnesses, make false witness, all that. But Rav, and the thing is, Rav says star. Now, it's if it's erased, we're not going to follow it, because if something's erased, if he fills in a star and you see it's an erased part, and underneath the Bezin is on a written normal piece of paper, certification, right away you'll see something's not right here. There's a red flag here. The Bezin wrote on a normal piece of paper is an erased part. Who knows what he erased? But Rav says that if on the erased part of the star you have the contents of the star and the witness signed on the erased part as well, then the witnesses were part of what is part of this new document. It's all kosher v'yosher. If the witnesses signed on the non-erased part, and then you have the star on an erased part, we're suspicious. Maybe there was something totally different that was here that witness assigned to, and you erased it and you put something else there. But if they're all on the same erased part, what are you worried about? So maybe he'll get fraudulent Adam here, or he'll forge signatures. So he'll have an erased part, right? He'll erase the black, put a new, even though you could tell right away it's erased, he'll put a new thing there. He'll have Adam next to it, and you have a gestamke from the Bezdin. Beautiful. And so the Gemara then continues the question. So if you hold, and Rav is one that says that. So Rav Kahana makes sense according to Rav Kahana that this din, that if the Edom and the star are both on the race part, will accept it, the master, but he learns it, Mashmei the Shmuel, the name of Shmuel, and Shapit. Then it's not a problem with Rav. Rav says that you can have the shart and the eraser. We're not worried at all, because if it's erased, even if the Edom are signed with it, he said the get is possible. So what are you worried about? He's going to erase it. The moment he erases it and writes something new, we're not going to accept it. Fine. El Rav Tavyumi, the master Mashmei the Rav, but Rav Tavyumi learns it in the name of Rav. That what? That if the Edom and the content of the star are both written on the raised part, and it's good, and then you have a gestemke, no kind of problems we have. You're allowing this big gap. That means you're allowing him space to do whatever he wants. You put black ink, he'll erase it, and he'll forge Edom on the raised part as well. And Rav holds that's kosher. You're asking for trouble. And in fact, the Rashbam says he doesn't even understand why this question is only according to Rav. This is a question on all stars. If the din is that if the star and the Edom are all the same thing, so every person can go and erase the whatever the star is and put under whatever he wants and put forge Edom and that's it. Anyway, so the Gemara Kasavri holds Kol ki gavna, any star that has a certification, the Bezin will not certify a star if the Edom and the contents are both on the raised part. What do you mean? Because in that case, we're not Bezin won't do it. We're not going to rely on the Bezin seal, because the Bezin seal is on a normal piece of paper. The Edom and the contents are erased. The tradition is, or the rule is, we need to find those Edom and certify the Edom, because maybe we don't know exactly what happened there. A little suspicious. Exactly. So we're worried that he's gonna fraudulently sign as if he was the Eidim. He'll copy the signatures, forge the signatures, and he'll put it all on the raised part. And we have a stamp of the Bezin. Whenever we have a stamp of the Bezin on a clean piece of paper, on clean cloth, and then you have this star that is erased and the contents and Eidim, we're going to go check it out with Eidim and see that you signed it. So nothing can go wrong here with our shart to the Beidina. So the Gemara.
How do you know if it's a new class or erased?
You can tell straight away. As some of the Shayim say, when they erase cloth, it actually peels away some of the cloth because they have a surface. So you can tell this is scraped and this is not scraped. Tosis has an opinion here that you cannot really tell the difference until you actually write on top. If the cloth, you erase the cloth and it's blank, you can't really tell the difference. It's only when you, based on the Gemara, next Gemara, only when you, what do you call it, write on it, that's when it becomes noticeable. Says the Gemara, okay. So aim a kaim and when a sharta shboy element eidish shboy we run the eidish. Comes on Rabbi Yechon agrees with that. Rabbi Yechon Amar loy shanu. This is not talking about ela beina eidim liksab. He says, when do we allow what a distance? When do we say that 2 lines is possible, but 1 line is kosher, is only a normal star, and the gap between the eidim signature and the balance of the star? Avol bein eidim la sharta. But between Eidim and the stamp of the bezin, afilu shitach is possible. He holds that even 1 line is possible, because even what do you call it? Even if you fill with black ink, he is worried you'll cut off the top of the star, and you're going to erase it and put the contents of the star together with Eidim on the same line, and he is worried that that's what you're going to do, and you're inviting cheaters to come and cheat. And people are going to rely on the fact that it's certified by a bezin. He's worried that people will rely on the fact. You said before that we don't rely on a certification of a bezin if it's all on the raised part, this contents of the eidim. And why are you going to look for the eidim and see if you can verify signatures? Rabbi Yechon is worried that people are going to rely on the stamp of the bezin, and therefore it's a problem. So even 1 line can be a problem if they're above the thing. Let's understand. What's the difference between Eidim la Sharta, Dilma guys or lawyer? We're worried that he might cut off the top. The cost of who the Eidim b'shita achas. What do we want to call it? That you're going to erase the black ink. You are going to write there the content of the star and have the Eidim all signed on the same line. And then, which we said before, they're all on the mechik, they're all on the race part, it's all right. And then we're going to rely, instead of looking for the Eidim, verify the Eidim, we're going to rely on the fact that the Bezman signed off on it. Ukesavar he holds star abahu ve'edim shidachas kosher. He holds that a star and edim are kosher. Is he hochiv? So bein edim l'ksav nami. So why aren't we worried between edim and the ksav the same thing? That even 1 line, you said before, 1 line gap is all right. But why aren't we worried that he is going to fill in that 1 line, and the edim signature he leaves? You know, if the edim leave a gap of 1 line, he leaves the edim signature, and you have now edim signing. That's good. Dilma guys aloi, he'll cut off the rest of the star. The Qasim might the boy, he'll write whatever he wants. The Chasim Misadi and the Adam signatures is existing from before.
He's going to write on that 1 line.
On that 1 line. Kasavati holds. And Kasavati holds that star haba. He holds the same we said before. That if you have the last line, but the Adam are not part of that line. Remember the Adam are beneath that. We already said before, the last line we disregard. So what's the worry there? He holds star haba hu b'shita achas. The Eidah b'shita acheres, if the star is on 1 line and the Eidim on the line beneath, is possible. Remember we said that the last line we ignore because we're scared people will cheat. So okay, why aren't we worried? This is what it'll do. You can allow 1 line, and according to that Yechon, like I before, that Eidim and the signature and the contents are all in the same line. It's all right. So why don't we worry that he will, if you leave a gap of 1 line, forget about erasing, you leave a gap of 1 line, he's going to write whatever he wants, sign Eidim on the same line, and you said that that's all right if you have signed the same line. But Arman will say, and you said before that if the Eidim are signed, when do we say the last line is no good? If the line, and then the Eidim are signed underneath it. Could have been left blank because not all the Eidim signed right next to the contents of the star, and could be filled in afterwards. But if the Eidim are signed on the very same line that you write, obviously it can't happen. What did the Eidim sign to? They're in the second half of the line. Your words on the first half of the line. Obviously, it was written before the Eidim signed. So therefore, in that case, the last line is all right. So why aren't we worried that you have Eidim on the bottom and you're going to just put in them on the line? Because when you have such a shtar where the Adim are signed on the same line of the contents, we're not going to verify it by looking at the real Adim or a sign underneath it, because we're suspicious that maybe you added this later and you put in, you forged some Adim. We're going to check out the Adim that are on top, not the Adim on the bottom. Fascinating Muki Yosef here. He says the Machlekes Rab and Rabbi Yochanan. He says the Halacha of Rabbi Yochanan. I'll just quote Rabbi Yochanan. Everybody's. And he says, why? The Hilchos of Rabbi Yochanan, the Rabbi the Ravu. He was Rav's Rebbe. Never happened. Rabbi Yochanan was a lot younger than Rav. And if you remember, we had a Gemara that Reish Lakish wanted to know who Rav was. Rabbi Yochanan said, there's a guy sitting there in yeshiva, and there was a fire around him. That was Rav. But we did have a Rashi in Gittin that Rav was a mediocre Talmud. Remember. But the Rav is Tanu Polik. Rabbi Yochanan, I remember somewhere, and I can't remember where, Rabbi Yochanan also was given that title of Tanu Polik, but was never used it. And he quotes a Migdal, but I couldn't look it up because we don't have that Rambam there. Oh, I couldn't find it. That the Migdal says over here, I quote you Migdal. It's interesting. Hilchos Shabbos, when when Rav was young, he was greater than Rabbi Yochanan. Well, when he was a Talmud by Rebbe, he was Rabbi Yochanan. But afterwards, Rabbi Yochanan grew, and he had much more chachma than Rav. But to say
why he's called a teacher,
no one knows why he's called a teacher, because it's clear for the Gemara that he was never Rav's teacher at all. Rav learned by Rebbe and a few others. Rabbi Yochanan learned by from Rebbe and Sabiani and others, but never from whatever it means. But he says Rabbi Yochanan Rabbi de Rav. Okay. Actually, he brings a ritva here which I couldn't find that ritva either. The worst thing is the Rimar Mekaymas that don't exist. It's just ritva. No, it might be the wrong daf. It might be somewhere else. But sorry. This is the modern Gemaras, and this is the modern Unimid. It says over here, so they don't double check. That Rabbi Yochanan was a greater chacham than Rav, but they never had it. He didn't live long enough, or Rebbe didn't live long enough to appoint him as a Tana as well. Did not make him a Tana. But I remember somewhere, I thought it was the places in Elam Mitzias. If you have a chance to look it up, it'll be nice to know where it said that Rabbi Yochanan also says, definitely one of the Shainim, that Rabbi Yochanan also was conferred the title of Tana, just never used it. Because sometimes you really get stuck, you push him against the wall. Yeah, Tana Polik, leave him alone. But here we don't. Okay, now we're going to analyze what Rav actually said. We'll do that tomorrow already. Okay.